former transportation secretary under Donald Trump, and also Mitch McConnell's wife. Try to imagine that, or maybe don't. Elaine Chao, she was on Bloomberg, and she had some comments about the, quote, labor participation rate in our economy right now. It's pretty dystopian.
What's happening now is if you look at the labor participation rate, it is still very, very low. In fact, it's still about 61.6%. I mean, we have to do, we as a country have to encourage people to come back to work, because what we are seeing in the supply chain crisis is basically the lack of workers. People are not there are not enough people to produce goods and services, and that is putting inflationary pressures on our economy.
That is not true.
At the prices that we want to pay them.
Yeah.
Me as a multi-millionaire.
This is just a way to divide the labor force, to make, same with the teacher, being anti-teacher when they were striking so kids wouldn't die of COVID-19 or get infected or some shit. Like, it's just a way to make like one part of the labor force who is able to be like that ideal consumer, be against the other part of the labor force who like they rely on to enable their ability to be that ideal consumer. It's classic.
Yeah.
Also realize every time that she says we, she realizes she needs to add like an addendum there. First it's we, and then she goes, oh, we as a country, and then she goes we, and then she goes, I mean people, because people who are watching this will see where this is leading, and I guess she knew what she wanted to say and had to make sure that she wasn't included, or people like her weren't included in who she's about to talk about.
Yeah, I want to see Mitch and Elaine down at the docks helping to unload.
Yeah,
right.
She doesn't want that mental image, right, in people's minds of her and her husband twirling their mustaches, basically. I mean, and also she's wrong about the goods and services part. I guess go back a little bit, if you could, Bradley, to when she says that, because what we're seeing with the supply chain issues is an over demand for goods and less of a demand for services, because there is still a pandemic going on. And basically these greedy people who like to portray themselves as above everybody else and able to see the economy in this calculated and rational way cannot seem to grasp that very fact, because they are children that want the pandemic to be over so that their pockets can be a little bit fatter, and they want to wish it away, but they're, disconnected from reality. Let's just go back a little bit.
Still about 61.6%. I mean, we have to do, we as a country have to encourage people to come back to work, because what we are seeing in the supply chain crisis is basically the lack of workers. People are not, there are not enough people to produce goods and services, and that is putting inflationary pressures on our economy, adding to the woes of the supply chain. So we really need these workers to come back. When I was Secretary of Labor, the labor participation rate was about 66.4% over a workforce of 157 million people. So we basically have 5 million people now who have basically left the workforce, and because of COVID, some people have retired early. Some people have decided not to come back. So this is a real issue. As the economy continues to recover, we're going to need these workers to do their patriotic duty to come back and help the economy to come back.
Do you think
Right.
you're not willing to toil at a minimum wage job until you die of overexertion so that a middle-class family in the suburbs can get whatever they want? Or can you really claim that you care about America?
You're essentially a traitor. I mean, I would guess that you could be tried for treason under the Trump administration with her presiding as transportation secretary. But like, in all seriousness, it shows how much these people intrinsically link capitalism to nationalism. And that's what you have right there.
And why it's cross purposes with the economy, because we need to encourage people to come back to work. And also there's not enough people to come back to work. Well, what do we need to do? Clone some? Like, did we run out of people? No, you need to encourage them by paying them more. All this in the context of a freak out over, let's not let in Afghanistan refugees. Let's not let in Haitian refugees. We have apparently too many people, like, as these people are also saying, we don't have enough people to do jobs. It's the nationalism, basically, a catering to white supremacy versus this sort of economics thing. It's kind of interesting how committed they are to the keeping the demographics a certain way.
Yeah,
Matt, getting
of their short-term capital gains.
Right, getting paid more to do what should be your patriotic duty. What kind of American are you?
Yeah. And that's exactly
anti-U.S. scumbag, Matt. How dare you?
That's exactly it. We're not going to pay you more. We're going to shame you by basically saying that you're unpatriotic, that you should be compelled to come to work because of some religious commitment to America, as opposed to actual incentives for you and your family, because we're not going to provide those for you.
Well, if we provided incentives for them and their family, the people who have failed our system and are therefore forced to do minimum wage as a punishment, then that would cause rising prices for people who view themselves as having succeeded our system. And that's too much of a burden for them. We have to shift everything down to the bottom level. And that's how we, are able to divide the workforce and make people go, oh, well, if we pay McDonald's servers $15 minimum wage and my Big Mac is going to cost $1.79 and I haven't budgeted for that one, also filling up my SUV with $5 worth of, $5 a gallon worth of gas. And that's just supposed to be so acceptable a position for that coddled middle class, suburban American to express that the fact that it inconveniences everyone else around them is just too, you can't feel about that because that's the backbone of America.
What's really interesting to me? If there was any discussion about paying workers a fair living wage prior to March 2020, the usual thing you would hear is, shut up and be grateful that you even have a job because your job is about to be automated away. And if you keep asking for more money, then one day a robot or a kiosk will be doing your job, server or cashier or whatever. But all of a sudden, what happened to those robots in those kiosks that apparently were waiting in the wings when we have this worker shortage? We were told that they need to be deployed and rolled out. And then, the McDonald's is doing it now. Look.
What are you talking about, Matt? She's there talking to you right now.
Shit, man, what happened to supply and demand? I mean, I remember everyone loved the basic tenets of economics when we were before the pandemic and people need to be paid $7.25 an hour to make things work. Mm-hmm. But now that there's a shortage of labor, supply and demand doesn't, that's not real. Everyone needs to do their everyone needs to do their patriotic duty. There's no such thing as supply and demand.
Yeah, and the market is clearly not fixing itself. I thought that's what it was supposed to be doing.
Just trying to, but they won't pay people more.
Just in terms of supply lines, Elaine Chao's father is funded the Foremost Group, a privately held shipping company based in New York City with subsidiaries registered in the Marshall Islands. Operates globally. Its clients include Bunge, Cargill, and Louis Dreyfus. It was founded in 1964. Anyway, $400 million. It's got a ship fleet for over $1 billion. So that's maybe why. Maybe cough up some of that $400 million, and we'll see if we can get some people down to the docks to get your ships unloaded, Miss Chao.